Hey, Lioness, welcome to the show, Lioness Conversations, where we help women be brave, to lead with confidence and joy, and to find your path to the most meaningful work of your life. I'm your host, Jen Porter, leadership and empowerment coach for ambitious and heart centered women. Today, we have the pleasure of meeting Jacqueline Potter. Jacqueline is the co-founder of Collectively, a game-changing platform helping women be brave in their career transitions. Collectively takes the guesswork out of career advancement with a powerful combination of assessments, personalized roadmaps, and connections to trusted coaches and resources. Alongside her co-founder, Sarah Miles, Jacqueline is empowering women to step boldly into careers that truly fulfill them. Jacqueline, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jen. It's so nice to be here.
I'm thrilled to have this conversation. You and I have been working together for a little over a year, and I
hmm
love your model. I love what you and Sarah are doing. So I really wanted to feature that and let people know about it. Tell us what's happening inside Collectively right now.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your support. We're really excited about sort of where we started and where we've come. Um, Really, collectively was born out of the understanding that women, especially women who reach a certain level in their career, at times need support and are either bogged down by day-to-day needs in their job or have sort of a moment of crisis where something support is needed immediately and they're sort of in a swirl of not knowing where to find that. And so we created a sort of a destination for these women to go to be understood as an individual first and foremost, and then secondly, to be paired with a variety of vetted coaching resources that we ourselves have found, vetted, and worked with. And so, as we've evolved, we are really focusing on what we call our sort of our black book product, which is designed to support directors, VPs in the C suite in moments just like I described. We are one phone call, we have a quick 30-minute meeting. They fill out a very specific form, and then we actually build a bio for them and then sort of build a whole presentation of a handful of coaches that can solve their exact problems, that are read in on who they are, what their needs are, and then they sort of see how that coach would support them, price point, timing, etc. So it takes the guesswork out of finding an executive coach, a career coach, a life coach, a business coach, depending on what your needs are. We do all that legwork for you, so you can hit the ground running, and it really does save time and money and
Yeah.
a lot of stress for these women.
So it sounds like matchmaking or a
It
sort of a
is, yes,
dating
it
service, right?
very much is, and it's interesting because when I talk to others about collectively, there's a variety of resources out there, aggregated lists of coaches, etc. And I think what really sets us apart is Sarah and I make it our job to know every single coach we work with personally. We know exactly who they work with. We know their nuances. We know exactly where they shine. And we're very clear with our clients about that. So no more of the, well, I just hired this coach because it was free through my work, or I hired this coach because my friend had used them. That does not mean that they are going to solve your problems.
Mhm.
And so we're really proud of what we're able to deliver for our clients.
Yeah. Well, I can attest to the process because you and I connected and
Yeah.
there was a thorough conversation and I'm part of your network as a coach. And so you got to know me, you and Sarah. And, even as I evolve, we stay in touch to make sure that we know how I could best serve the people that you're working with.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
what are some of the challenges that these women are coming to you and Sarah about now? What kind of trends or patterns are you seeing?
Yeah. Well, in their own day to day, we're seeing, one major theme is up leveling. If you're a new director or you've gone from director to VP or VP to C suite, there is a lot of uncertainty in sort of changing the way you approach your day to day. How do you level up to this new position? That's been a big one. Um, Restoring confidence after layoffs. That's been another big one. That's one that I know you can relate to, and we're very close on that. I think understanding leadership challenges just in a day, understanding that you have, executive coaches are massively helpful in this. Having someone in your corner when you have to send the email that you know your CEO is not going to like, have someone in your corner to draft it for you or help you draft it, read through it, understand your macro and micro goals for that email and your existence at the company as a whole. It's really it's challenging at the top. It's lonely.
It is.
And we can sort of help them through that. I think the other element of this whole discussion is that the coaching world is highly unregulated. And so these resources, when correct, are game changing. When they are not, they can be a real problem. And so Sarah and I want to make sure that we understand, to your point, the coaches that we bring to the table. We know exactly who they are, how they work with others. We're very proud to recommend them, and we see such success. So we eliminate a lot of the unknown there, which has been
Yeah. There's a couple of things that come to mind that I see in my work, and that is helping women show up powerfully in the boardroom, in these
yeah.
conversations, in leadership, in leaning into these C-suite conversations where if they have up leveled, they're not accustomed to using their voice in that way. And so a lot of women were used to working at a certain level, with a certain purview. And then once we get to higher levels, it's a different way of operating. We have to delegate a lot more. We have to advocate a ton, and we have to do things that are really uncomfortable until we get used to it. The other trend that I see is what you said is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it in the last few years, especially during and after COVID. There
Yes.
are highly successful, badass women who have had an experience, and usually you can point to the experience that has there. It's like a dagger to
Oh,
their ego, and their confidence has just taken a hit, and they no longer see themselves clearly as, with the brilliance that they have, with the strength, with um the leadership. And so part of the work, and I'm sure you see this too, is rebuilding the
absolutely.
confidence and the identity so that they can show up as powerfully as they truly are again.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. Both professionally with our clients and personally. I had somebody was asking me, if I could go back and live my career all over again, what would I do differently? And it wasn't that I would do anything differently. What I would have loved is to have the confidence that I had in my early 20s entering the workforce. I thought I was great. And then the wisdom that I have in my early 40s, that since I have lived
Yeah.
through those moments that you speak of when maybe you're reminded that you aren't the best. And that's okay.
Yeah. But navigating those challenges is so key, and doing that in community.
Yes.
Uh, our network or the communities that we surround ourselves with are so important when we hit hard times, don't you think?
So important. And that is actually another element that we really drive home with the value of a good coach, because Sarah felt this in her professional journey. I felt it in my own. You might have a massive network, but that network is specific to your industry and you. Whereas you bring a coach into the fold, all of a sudden your network has doubled, perhaps tripled, and it's outside of your world. And that is so key, especially in the landscape today that we're seeing.
Yeah, yeah. So what made you and Sarah start collectively?
Uh, well, our own sort of professional what now moment. For both of us, it was motherhood. We realized that the way we were approaching our careers prior to motherhood was not necessarily sustainable when we became mothers. Sarah, being a pediatric nurse practitioner, highly accomplished, worked at Stanford, taught at NYU. She's a brilliant mind. I myself had a 20-year career in the ad industry, selling advertising. It was wonderful. I loved it. And then we realized that, from a bandwidth perspective, from a personal want perspective, things just shifted. And we weren't really sure what to do with that knowledge. It happened to be COVID. My husband, being a first responder, was on the front lines. So I decided to take some time off just to, we had an 18-month-old at the time, and we just felt like that was the best decision for our family. And it truly was. I treasure that time. But
Mm.
Sarah at the same time was home, and we had a lot of conversations about the careers that we had built and where they went, and what was the next step for us. We weren't really sure. And we kept, noodling on the fact that we had both been approached by a lot of different women asking for advice or support in various ways. And what I realized is we are all feeling these feelings at certain points in our career. It doesn't have to be motherhood. It doesn't have to be any particular thing, but women specifically do come up against seasons in their career and moments of redefinement. And as we noodled on that, we looked around and we started diving into the world of coaching and realizing that this is a massive benefit specifically to women who we understand work better, to your point, Jen, in community. And we like working together. And
Mhm.
so we wanted to take it a step further and make it accessible, because if you Google career coach, I mean, good God, where does that get you? Not far. And even when you're given a list of resources, I would compare it to therapy. I mean, you could be given a list of therapists by your insurance provider. Pick one of these. Okay. Okay. Whereas if you have someone to sit down and know you and truly
Yeah.
know you, and then know who their coaches are and be able to connect you, that to us was really meaningful, and we realized could provide some real impact. And our success rate is very high. We have very satisfied customers and coaches because everybody is partnered in the right capacity.
That's awesome. So what are some of the results that you're seeing in your clients?
We have one that I'm particularly proud of. She was in management, and her boss left, and there was an expectation that she would go for that role. However, she realized that she didn't want that role. And then she felt that she was really vulnerable at the company, because if she's not going for the role, does she not look motivated? Will they pass over her? Who would she report to? How does this look? Does she even want to be in this industry? So she was in a real moment of career crisis. So she came to us and we gave her a variety of options. And as we were reviewing the options together, she realized that she was really drawn to this coach that sort of straddled the line between career coach and life coach. And she really liked a lot of the elements that that coach had put on the table in our presentation. And so we connected them and they ended up working together. And what she realized is she didn't necessarily need so much help professionally. She needed more help personally. And bringing those two worlds together caused her to realize that she wanted to leave that industry, take a step back. She's now working for a smaller company, but she has a little more freedom in her day to day. And this is not her forever job, but she's really excited for the next step. And she wasn't able to build the next step until she took this step back. And she would have never made this choice on her own. She would have never even saw that need. But
Yeah.
looking at the different ways that she could be supported, she was naturally gravitating towards the right fit for her. And that's the goal. I was speaking with a client on the phone the other day, and she is very accomplished and she has all of the tools that one needs to forge ahead in her career journey. And her quote to me was, Jacqueline, if I'm given 20 choices, I will choose none. But if you
Mm.
give me three, I will choose one of those. And that really summed up her mental state. And she needs someone to help her drill down what are those three directions she could go.
Yeah.
And not only that, who are the three people that could potentially get her to narrow those 20 down to three? And that's where we come in. It if you are not in a moment like our clients are, it might not make total sense what we do. But if you are in a moment in your career and you hear about us, I can't tell you how many women have told me, "Where were you 3 years ago, 5 years ago when I was going through this? I could have used you." And
Yeah.
that's why we built this.
So how when women come to you, s I'm guessing that in some cases they're clear on what they need, and in other cases they're just not clear yet.
Most women are clear on the fact that they are unhappy. They aren't necessarily clear on where
Yeah.
they are going to go and what they are going to do about it. Listen, it's not just like if your heart does not sing every time you go to the office, like there's not a lot you can do about that.
Yeah.
However, you can really drill down, what are your financial needs? What is your education? What is your background? What lights you up? And we unpack all of that. Okay, now that we understand this, let's get you talking to this coach, or this coach. And this is actually what they just said back to us, how they will help you. Does any of this resonate with you? And it really helps guide the process. And the idea is, we want to keep these women excelling. We want to keep them moving either up the corporate ladder or thriving in their current role. But we want to be sure that they feel supported in their career journey, um, because we do have a lot pushing on us internally, externally. And I think that leads to a lot of women saying, you know what, I'm out. I'm just going to figure this out. I
A
can't
lot of
do this
women are
anymore.
leaving the workplace.
And I mean, if that is their choice and that's their truth, oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah.
God bless. But
Mhm.
there's other women who are slogging through a work day. Maybe they're underpaid. Maybe they're doing it better than their company and they should be consulting. Maybe it's just a bad manager, or maybe it's them. Maybe they just need to change this and that in their day, and it's going
Yeah.
to, you know, be smooth sailing. I mean, there's so many ways to solve a problem. And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to grind until I burn out and then maybe I can quit or retire or whatever. I mean, we get one life and we spend the majority of it working. We should at
Right?
least try to make the best of it.
Let's find what we're really meant to do, where we can
Yeah.
thrive and shine. It sounds like what you're doing is, you're saving these women time because they don't have all the time in the world to search for the support that they really need. But you're
Yeah.
also empowering them and giving them some control in the process by letting them choose who they're working with. You're just narrowing down those choices to make it efficient.
Correct. We want to make sure that the choices they are making are reputable, that these coaches are going to deliver on what they say they will, because we have seen money squandered and it is not a good thing. Not with our coaches, clearly, but we have heard horror stories of clients coming to us saying,
Yeah.
it is worth you finding this coach for me.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting, as we were building the company, I had an experience with childcare, and I hired someone and I didn't use the service that everyone in my town was using. I was like, I can interview. This is
Yeah.
fine. I work from home. I'm keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
The woman didn't show up day 2, and I had meetings and a job and all of the things. And that's when I realized, like, wow, maybe it does matter to go to the nanny service that everyone else uses, because my
Mhm.
I pay a little bit more, and then all of a sudden I know that that person is vetted, showing up on time, and she was a godsend to our family.
Wow.
And it's the same with a coach. You might as well, if you're going to invest money in this, just make sure it's the right investment, and we want to make sure that that is seamless for our clients. What do? Google somebody and hope they do what they say they're going to do?
Right, right. So it's really important to you and Sarah to protect your clients and make sure that they're getting the right resources and coaches.
And not only that, we also protect our coaches. We work with our clients and they are already showing, yes, I'm willing to do the work on myself. I'm willing to
Yeah.
invest in myself, because these coaches that really do want to make a difference in the world, they're showing up too and spending their time having discovery calls and working with clients. But if you're not ready to be coached, then you also shouldn't be working with a coach. You need to come in with an open mind. Similar again to a therapist. Like, do you want help?
You have to be ready for the work.
Correct.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we
you and I
can
have talked a lot about investing in ourselves and how I believe it's one of the things that holds women back more than anything else is when we won't invest in ourselves, and we will invest in everybody else around us, our kids.
totally.
We will, without skipping a beat, we will spend a ton of money on whatever the needs are that come our way. But when it comes to our own needs, we hesitate, or even just to flat out say, if it's going to cost money, no. And
Yeah.
it's such a disservice because we stay stunted. What do you
And
see?
I totally agree with you. And I also think time. I don't have any more time to spend to work with a coach or to, but
Right.
if that time and if that money made your day different, A, you will make that money back in spades. That goes
Totally.
without saying. And then B, what if you were more efficient with your day?
Yes.
What if you don't have time because you're not managing your time correctly? So what I have found, and I think that's a really interesting topic that you bring up, because what I have found is I'm not in the business of selling women coaches. I won't do it. If you need a coach, you should come to us because we will make sure that you have the right one. But if you don't know you need a coach, that is a personal journey that I support. But I can't convince you to show up and spend time and money on something that you're not totally bought into. And that's what we have realized over the past 4 years.
Hmm. So how do women know what's possible?
We do a lot of, I mean, we have a lot of information. We look, my goal is to be the authority in the coaching space because we know how to find coaches. We know how to look for the good ones. We know how to understand a good coach. And I will say, a good coach knows their ideal client. If you have a coach that says, I work with everyone, they're not a good coach. So coaches that truly understand exactly who they support and how, that's a good coach. There's elements of that we bring to the table, but we also are identifying the difference between a career coach and executive coach. A lot of people do not know the difference. A lot of people are almost getting exhausted on the term coach. Like it's just everybody's a coach now. And
Yeah.
what does that mean? And how do they help me? And what do you mean they charge me thousands of dollars? Well, Sarah and I do a lot of education, speaking engagements. We have literature that we've built. We post frequently on LinkedIn with, thought leadership on sort of the world of coaching, but it's our goal to educate further. And truly, there's a lot of education in our process at Collectively with our clients. A client will come and say, this is my problem. And I'll say, great, let's talk about your problem more. Let's identify your problem more. And then we call our coaches partners because there's a variety of partners we work with. Some are business coaches, some are marketing coaches, some are financial coaches, some are executive or career or life coaches. All of these resources are necessary to support these women in whatever journey they're on. But it really gets down to a woman who's willing to invest in themselves and raising their hand saying, help me. We then identify exactly what they're needing. And then we know who can help them achieve these goals. And some of those goals are, I still don't know what I want. And we have some amazing resources that will help them get clear.
Yeah.
But Sarah and I, in our process, build out for those that are still unclear, we have another sort of step to our program that we build out a roadmap of these are all the directions you can take. Are
Mhm.
you naturally drawn to one of these? And I think you noticed earlier, we do not tell our clients what to do. We bring the options to the table because this is such a personal decision and it's not ours to make. But we don't have skin in the game. We are not swirling in a state of personal stress. So we have a bit of the ability to stand back like a friend and say, listen, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. This is potentially where you could go. And these are the different resources you would need for each path. And then from there, we sort of then bring in our exact coaching resources into the discussion.
Do your clients ever interact with one another? Is there a community piece?
Not yet. That we look forward to down the road. We are really bullish about bringing women together. I'm actually working with a coach who's doing sort of a road show. And it's a bunch of speaking engagements in different cities and it's bringing women together, but Collectively has not formally done that yet because of bandwidth. Sarah and I are really involved with our clients and it's very high touch. And so when we create a community, which we will, we want to be able to dedicate time and resources to that. And we
Yeah.
just don't have it at the moment.
What would be the experience for somebody if someone's listening and they say, gosh, I could really use a coach. I could really use some direction. What could they expect by way of what their experience and what that journey would be?
With us, yeah.
Mhm.
So I would just say go visit our website, thecollectivelyco.com, and book a discovery call. You can also find me personally on LinkedIn and book a discovery call. And we'll chat. We'll chat for 30 minutes. We can talk about what you're needing, where you are in your career journey. And we love to connect with women that are looking for support. you by all means do not have to work with us. We're always willing to chat. It's interesting. I've also been speaking at a few different colleges recently. They are not our audience. They have not built their career yet, but
Yeah.
Sarah and I are bullish about supporting women in all parts of their career journey. And I think supporting these women before they even enter the workforce is massively important.
Yeah.
So it's
And are
something
you partnering with companies or
we
others?
we're in discussions with a few different companies to support them and their sort of female workforce, which is
Yeah.
really exciting. And that is sort of on the horizon as we grow collectively. That is something we're really focused on. So, still supporting our clients day to day, but also supporting companies as a whole to maintain female participation in their company and leadership. That's been huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really excited about that.
So, what has this experience been like for you as a business owner and a business builder?
It's interesting. I am thriving. I don't know that I can imagine not having collectively in my life. It
Mm.
fills my cup. It presents challenges day to day that I love tackling. I was a salesperson for so long. I think as a seller, you kind of run your own business within a larger organization. And so, what I don't think I saw was I had a lot of entrepreneurial spirit long before I became an entrepreneur. And now I kind of love putting myself out there. And I think Sarah feels the same way. We take risks with our own time, money, this is the baby that we built. So we're very
Mhm.
protective of it.
Yeah.
But it fills our cup for sure.
And when have you had to be brave across this entrepreneurship journey?
Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. I'm sure you can understand that. You know, I've had so many conversations over the years. I remember early on, I was having a conversation with a founder who had started a company, built it, sold it, the whole thing. And I was like, this is going to be great. She used to do what I did. And now I'm doing what she did. And this is going to be great. And I had one phone call with her and she goes, you sure this is your business? I don't know if this is your business. And I was like, I just watched my own sales go, boo. But it was great. I appreciated the feedback. And you have to understand that, like, there are people that are not going to understand it, or there are people that are going to say, I tried it your way. You got to pivot. And this is how, and this is what I learned. And, you take it all in and then you execute according to your own needs. But it is a risk. I mean, you are in, like I said, investing your time and money and emotions into growing something because you believe that you can make a difference. And
Yeah.
so I think that moment in 2020 when Sarah and I, and there was another woman at the time who we just adore, was with us, and we were like, let's do this. Let's start this. Sarah literally delivered her son the day we launched.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we were in it. And I think that it's so funny. I'm like, how old's our business? Oh yeah, there's Wyatt. There. Yeah. All right.
Wow.
But it takes a lot. It takes a lot to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
This is you build something and then you sort of roll it out and you hope you're accepted by clients, by friends and family, by the world, if you will. And it's a vulnerable time, but then you live it and you live the good, the bad, and the ugly. And my husband says this a lot. He's allowed to because he runs into fires, but he's like, man, it just makes you feel so alive. Like, that's how I feel. I was like, this
That's
is
what he says about his work as a firefighter.
totally. He's like, you're in it and there's fire all around you and you feel alive. And I'm
He's
like, you're
made for
crazy.
it.
Yeah, you're a nut. But this is as far as alive as I want to feel. But man, you do some days. You're like, oh, we're doing this. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel so alive in my work. I can
Right?
totally relate to that. Yeah.
And that feeling when you made a difference in someone's life and
Yeah.
they tell you that. I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't get any better.
It doesn't get any better.
And
Yeah.
sorry, I meant to circle back. When I was having conversation with this woman, when my sales were deflated, we were talking about the why. Why do
Mhm.
Sarah and I do this every day? Because we want to help these professional women thrive.
Yeah.
And and as long as you have your why, it's going to get you through the frustrating days.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what does your lioness energy look like when it's on display?
Well, I'm very extroverted. So kind of this, I guess.
Yeah?
I think that I have a real I am very open to meeting new people. I love to meet new people. I love
Yeah.
to connect. I love to support, and I think that I can almost feel it whether someone can visibly see that or not. When I meet a new client or I go speak on a college campus or I go speak in an event and someone who was in my shoes 10 years ago comes up to me and says, "I am so glad you are doing what you're doing."
Mhm.
There is like a spark that you just feel like, wow, that was really validating. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I have to sort of give myself that spark on days, but when you really can see who you're helping, it's an energy that is undeniable.
It's like what you do for your clients when you help them understand what lights them up. This is what lights you up.
Yes, absolutely. Also, when I see such a capable, smart, accomplished woman
Yes.
come across my desk, if you will, and I'm fangirling over them, and they're like, "Ah, well, I'm really struggling." I'm like, "You are? Why?"
And what is that about?
Oh, so many things. I mean, we have had major executives come in and sit down and say, "I don't like the company I work for. Like, I'm making great money. I'm the breadwinner, but I do not believe in this company. What do I do?" I mean, major moments in their careers. Or I know that I have built this and my family has lived in certain places because of my job. And I don't even know that I like this job. Do I stay out of obligation? Do we pack up and move? What do I do? I
Big
mean,
decisions.
major decisions need
There's
to
such
be
a
made.
shift that's happened in our workforce over the last, I'm going to say, decade,
Yeah.
where women are, I mean, a lot of the clients I work with, the women are the breadwinners in their families.
Oh, yes. Oh,
It's
yeah.
really shifted. And so
Hmm.
the weight of responsibility that these women feel for their livelihood, for their families, for providing, it's
And not
real.
only that, they also sort of have a lot of different pressures on them. We were working with a VP at a major tech company, and she was really candid. She said, "Listen, I'm in a 6 p.m. meeting that I have to be in, and I'm sitting like a good soldier in my chair. And all the men around me have stay at home moms who are making dinner for their kids,
Right.
doing homework, and I'm not home. And I feel like garbage because I'm missing it." And to them, it's a day at the office. And it's interesting because not to vilify those men. I mean, God bless them, that they
Mhm.
have their own pressures pushing on them. And I'm not saying that men have it easy and women have it hard. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I know that I could relate to that feeling because I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel good about sitting in that boardroom and missing dinner with my family. And so
Mhm.
it's interesting how a lot of us women are built like, but I want that too. But I'm good at this and I'm now
Mhm.
making the
Yeah.
money and I'm at the table and I
Yeah.
wanted this, but now this part is really hard. What do I do with that information?
You know what? This came up earlier when you were giving an example of one of your clients who I think it was the one that shifted. Like she thought it was about work, but actually there was some
Mhm.
life coaching that she needed. I find that we think we're chasing one thing. We think that we want something and it's a particular goal, or if I had this, then.
Yeah.
But actually, what we're chasing is a feeling.
Yeah.
We actually want to feel something as a result of getting that thing. And so for this woman who's in that 6 p.m. meeting, she wants freedom.
Hmm.
She wants to be able to not be the soldier at
Right.
6 p.m. and have choices to be able to, am I going to be with my family or am I going to work this hour? I'd like
Right.
to be able to own that.
Right.
And there's all kinds of feelings that we're always chasing, but that's the thing that drives us. And that's the stuff underneath the surface that we have to get to in order to understand what am I actually moving toward and why.
Right. Well, what's interesting is this same woman did end up leaving that company, took time off, and now she's with an even bigger tech company. And she's like, "What am I doing? Why do I keep chasing this?" I said, "I don't know." You
But hopefully
cheated.
it's a better situation
It
because
it is a better situation. She has a great coach, but I was like, "I think you need another."
but we have to it's important for us to have choices. You know, one of the worst feelings in the world is to feel powerless, like we can't
Absolutely.
affect change. And so to be empowered in making those decisions, and hopefully when we're making a change, it's one that's rooted in what we truly do want. And so what a lot of the work that I do is helping women name, what do
Mhm.
you really want in this next opportunity or as you
Yeah,
build this business, and helping them not only name it but then go after it, because once we understand ourselves more, we show up with more confidence.
agreed. I agree. And another element that I think you're touching on is what are we allowing ourselves to admit? Because I think also we as women, it's really inconvenient to admit that the job that pays all the bills and the mortgage and gets you on the nice vacation every year is driving you crazy and you don't want to do it anymore because that's inconvenient
It's
at
it's
best.
brave to be honest about that. You're right.
Mhm. Yeah.
What do you
And
do
I
with,
don't know that women are as honest as they could be in moments like that.
and that's I think it goes back to feeling like we don't have choices. One of
Mhm.
the things I believe is that I know this, we are way more powerful than we realize.
Mhm.
And so we will sit in circumstances that are less than what we really want or deserve or can access because we don't understand the choices we have. And that's to your point about how a coach can like open our
Yeah.
minds to possibilities we never even considered. And it's like following these threads of,
Mhm.
oh, why is that important to you? Oh, what is your dream? Like, let's talk about it.
Mhm.
Let's open that up and see how we can access that for you.
Quite
Otherwise,
literally dare to dream. Yeah.
dare to dream. Exactly. Otherwise, we will stay stuck. You know, I say the work that I do is helping women in the corporate shackles
Mm.
step away and find their path to the most meaningful work of their life. Because if we feel trapped, I mean, can you imagine staying trapped in a
No.
job we hate or is killing us
Yeah.
for decades, for years,
And you
and
do
how
have
that
to think
impacts
of
us?
the physical and emotional impact of that.
Yes. Yes. What do you see in your clients, in your own, you know, network of women? What is the impact that you see?
You know, it's interesting. We have a coach, a life coach, who's fantastic, and she comes from the entertainment world. And she herself saw, and she lists it. She wrote a book and she has it on her website, but she lists the chronic ailments she experienced physically, emotionally, because of the crushing nature of her job. And she was so good at it. And she made so much money. And
Yeah.
she finally, she left the industry once and then got back into it and then she left it again for good and she is focused on helping people specifically in that industry and beyond find balance because it will affect you mentally, physically, emotionally. She actually had one client and she spoke to me about this. She had a client that was struggling dealing with a difficult boss, and they were remote and she was having trouble connecting with the boss. And so this coach was working with her on that. And what really actually netted out was, oh, also this woman had gained some weight and was dealing with self-confidence issues. She wasn't feeling good in her own body.
Yeah.
And this coach also does nutrition work. And so they ended up actually making a hard pivot, did a bunch of nutrition work. She lost the weight that she had gained. And her confidence, to your point, Jen, re- regrew, if you will. And then
Yeah.
the problem with the boss was really not that big of a problem at all. It was actually deeper stuff that was going on. And I think that it's all tied together. Sarah and I always say it collectively, we support women in anything that touches their livelihood. But we do work with some nutritionists because it has been brought in by request of our clients. Like, also, by the way, I'm not thriving personally. And that will affect our overall well being. And sometimes it's a vicious cycle. I'm in this terrible job. I work long hours. I don't exercise. I don't eat right.
Oh,
You
totally
know,
connected.
totally.
Yeah. Wow. And it's amazing how we can, the physical manifestation of
Hmm.
what we're experiencing, because we're not talking about, you know, getting sick like a cold. We're talking about
Right.
like disease.
No, diabetes. Like,
Mhm.
diabetes was put on the table. What was it? There were a few other ailments that this woman and her client had both battled simply because of just chronic stress.
Wow. It is a vicious cycle, isn't it? What do
Mhm.
you find is the thing that makes a woman willing to even just explore breaking the cycle?
I have found that once a woman reaches a certain level professionally, she has fought for that position and worked very hard and earned money for herself to be empowered to make further decisions for herself.
Mhm.
So I do see more challenge with women who have stepped away from work for a certain amount of time, getting the inertia to start again. And I'm not saying they won't, and I'm not saying they don't want to. I'm just saying, to your point, to justify the time, energy, and money into refining their skill set, their brand, and getting them back into the workforce is it's a heavier lift for them. It's actually quite simple. And these women are so capable, but they
Yeah.
don't have that tangible success readily available to feed off of.
I have seen that. I've never heard it described as inertia, but I can definitely see that it's harder, and there's so much self-doubt. There's
Yeah.
so many limiting beliefs that a woman in that position who has taken some time away from her
Mhm.
career for very good reasons to
Absolutely.
move back into a place of true leadership.
Yeah.
And so it's a rebranding that must
Mhm.
happen because she's showing up newly. And I think a lot of women, two things. I think there's a lot of fear that shows up because one is the fear of stepping away
Mhm.
out of the rat race
Yes.
because they're so used to that pace that it's like, who am I? And
I had that
what's
fear.
going to happen to me?
I had that fear.
Okay, say more about that.
I read Sheryl Sandberg's book, and she's like,
Mhm.
"Don't ever quit. You'll never go back." And I was like, and you have to understand something about my mind is you give me a rule, and I'm like, "It's gospel." And so when COVID hit and it was just not going to work for our family for me to go back, I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to leave my child alone. Robbie was on the front lines getting exposed all the time to COVID. We didn't know what this was. We couldn't have support because we couldn't go near our parents. And I didn't want to leave my child. And so it was 100% the right choice to not be working. Both of us agreed to that. But there was this voice in the back of my head of, but how long am I going to stay away? How long do I give this until I have to go back? I didn't feel like I had options. I felt like I had to be on red alert and understanding my options and what I want to do. And what was interesting is starting collectively, I loved it to the point where I had old bosses were calling me later that year to come back to work. And I said, you know, I
No,
don't
thank
think I
you.
want to. I'm very happy with
This is
my
good.
business.
Yeah. And I've seen the other thing where women who have taken some time off, and a lot of them during COVID, because they
Mhm.
had to, afraid to go back,
Hmm.
wanting to go back, but afraid to go back because they knew what it did to them. I mean, the
Yes,
burnout was so severe. And so a part of it is a retraining of how do you step back into something in an empowered way so that it doesn't overtake you again.
agreed. We're working with a client right now. She has worked for multiple major tech corporations, and she left one, and then she and her husband wanted to buy a house, and she's like, "All right." So she went to another, made the money, they bought the house, they a partnership. They bought the house together, and then she got burnout again, and so she's taking some time away, and she's like, Jacqueline, I feel like I'm just going to sign up for the same thing again and hate it.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? And I think that was really she's very self-aware. I mean, I loved that she's already having this dialogue with herself of, I cannot sign up for this again. This does not work for me personally. I now just don't know where to go and what to do. And she loves her career. It's not that she's like, I have to do this, I have to make the money. She's like, my career lights me up. It's
Yeah.
great. But then I'm signing up for these environments that are brutal. because she's so good. So she gets these amazing jobs.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
it's so brutal because that's not what she wants to be doing in particular. But she's like, but where do I go? Where do I take these skills? Where do I go where I will thrive? And you need to unpack that further. And
I found
that's
that exactly unpacking that, really discerning where you are going to thrive and setting up an entire system around you so
Mhm.
that when you step into it, you have what you need to stay strong in your boundaries. And I find that having coaching throughout that transition, not just like I got the job,
oh
but
yeah.
how do you on how, those the first 6 months, how do you really establish yourself in your new brand, in your new rhythms, in your new ways of working, and so that people respect it. But you have to be able to find the right opportunity and the right people who will support you as you step into those things that are now important in that season of your life.
That's
Because
so
people are not just
important.
going to give it away. They're just, we actually have to fight for what we want.
Absolutely. And it is hard to hold a boundary. And also it's sometimes it's hard to understand what boundaries are appropriate and then hold the boundary confidently.
It is
Um,
about confidence, isn't it?
mhm,
I think
mhm.
holding boundaries takes confidence. And if we don't understand who we are, we will not have the confidence to hold the boundary.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I also think that to your point, this isn't about getting a job. That's not what this entire discussion we're having is about. This
Mm.
is about thriving in a career. A
Yeah.
lot of that is finding the right job, sure. And again, in today's environment, I know that finding a job is top of mind, and I respect that, and we are here for it, and we support that. But we are not recruiters. We offer coaches for that very reason. It's identifying the right industry, the right job within that industry, and then helping you get the job, helping you brand yourself, helping you get the job, and then helping you thrive at that job. It's a whole journey.
Yeah. It's the destiny is about career satisfaction,
Mhm.
isn't it,
Correct.
for you, for what y'all do?
100%.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to shift gears and hear about the fires. So you're in California. You
Yes.
have been through it. Your husband has been through it. Your community has been through something really traumatic. How is your community doing now?
It's a lot, I will say. I mean, so my town has been able to welcome many families who have been displaced. And so I've met many of them. Our schools have some new kiddos. We're meeting a lot of the families through school. And I think the hardest part is, they lost everything. Everything. And the fires did not discriminate. And there are so many communities that are trying to rebuild, but what does that really mean? I mean, it means that the Palisades, Altadena, they're still trying to get it like the ability to rebuild, not just rebuild, the ability for the water to be potable, for electricity to work. I mean, there are elements that they still have to basically develop the infrastructure. Not only
Mhm.
that, these people are not the insurance is a whole other mess. And here they are trying to just put on a brave face for their kids and get their kids in school. And I think what's happening now is okay, the dust has settled and they're looking around and they're like, wow, this is forever. For now, they sort of have to embrace that this is forever. And I'm having a lot of conversations with these people who are saying, well, my rental's up in June. And thank God I've had a rental up till June, but now the rental market is impacted. Do we stay? Now my kid's happy in school. Do we go? Do we need to move out of state? Like what are my finances looking like? What's my job looking like?
Yeah.
I know people that are commuting all over LA because they want to keep the preschool that their kid was in because they're comfortable there. But then
Yeah.
they're dropping their toddler off over here and then they've got to go to work over there. So everyone is still surviving in a sense and it's heartbreaking. It truly is.
I want to mention a resource. I just interviewed a woman who is doing some phenomenal work, and her name is Rachel Tenpenny McGonigal. She calls herself the Grief Gal, and
Oh,
she does grief work, all kinds of losses. She has a really powerful story that will actually come out next week. But she just told me last week that she offers a free um, group grief counseling coaching for people in California who've gone through the fires.
Oh, that
Like,
would be if you wouldn't
specifically.
mind sharing that,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
along.
I will. I think it's Monday nights, and she
Okay,
just offers it, as a
amazing.
free, service to people that are going through all of this.
That is
She
amazing. You
she is
do
freaking
see
phenomenal in her craft.
oh,
Unbelievable.
that makes me so happy, and you do see people showing up in their best capacity. So,
Mhm.
okay, here's what I can bring to the table. Take it, and I hear stories. I mean, there was a story we heard the other day where this one man this one man who had lost everything in the fires. He was just standing on the Hermosa Beach pier, and he just asked another man, "Hey, do you know where I could find a good cup of coffee around here? I just need a cup of coffee. I don't know the area." And the guy said, "I have the best cup of coffee in town. Come over." Brought him home, made him a cup of coffee, opened his closet, and said, "If you don't take at least 5 things, I will be offended." And just that's what he could do right then to make a change. And there have been donations, but people are also donating their time and their skill set, to your point. Like, "Oh, well, I'm a grief counselor, so here, let me offer my services to you." I mean, the schools just opened their doors and these kids came in, and it makes me really proud to see our community rally around these people and these families. I know that Altadena is a bit further from us, and that community was hit so hard. So I do really want to shine a light on Altadena, and if anyone has the ability to support those people, however it may be, they really could use it. Yeah, it's just I think the main takeaway here is the fires are out, but the stuff. I mean, it's hard to say suffering, but truly, there's hardship. And it's going to be 5 to 10 years before these people experience a normal like they had before their house burned down.
I'm gonna name her again here, the Grief Gal.
The
I think
grief.
it's thegriefgal.com. I will send it to you specifically. In fact, if you want an intro, I'll give that to you.
I would
Um,
love that. I just wrote it down
yeah,
too. Thank you.
Rachel Tenpenny McGonigal is she's amazing, and it's such a relevant need right now that she's
Yeah.
offering. So I'll
Yeah.
share it in the notes as well.
Thank
So
you.
how do people find you and Sarah, and what would you want? How would I say this? Who is the person who should come to you? And maybe if we're thinking about our own networks, who should we recommend come
Yes,
to you?
absolutely. I would say, I mentioned earlier director, VP, and C suite. That is what one particular product was built for, but we do support all women who are struggling in their career.
Okay.
But if you know specifically a woman, a high performer who is just stretched or swirling or hitting a roadblock or laid off,
Hmm.
we can really help them quickly and efficiently.
Okay.
And they can either go to our website, thecollectivelyco.com, or find me, Jacqueline Potter, on LinkedIn. And there's a button that can book a call with me
Great.
straight from LinkedIn.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love what you and Sarah are doing.
Oh, Jen, we love what you're doing too. And thank you for having me. This was really special.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been really cool. I know a lot of women are going to get a lot out of the conversation. Well, until the next episode, the lioness in me sees the lioness in you.